Hello friends and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. My name is Holly. I am a second year 5th grade teacher and I like making videos to help teachers. I don't know. This is my second time doing this, so let's see how it goes. What I'm going to talk about is a fun activity that you can do in your 5th grade classroom when it comes around election time or every year. What my team did this year is we picked a book to do a read aloud. My school is really into read alouds and how those help kids and all that stuff. So we picked a book about the election year because obviously it was this year. It's come and gone. So we picked a book that went along with the election. And I am someone who loves to do projects and activities and kind of make the classroom feel more like an environment that everyone's welcomed in. I don't know how to explain that very well, but I like projects and I like to bring the classroom together. There you go. So what we did is my classroom, we read the book. I think it was called If I Was President or something. It went along the lines of like how presidency works, what all happens, what all goes into it and all that stuff. And it talks about the vocabulary words that presidential things happen, like ballots and like Republicans, Democrats and stuff like that. It was just a book to get them informed about what was going on. We did that book. And then if you do that book also, we had some higher thinking questions that the kids could work on. I have them written down here, so if I look down, that's because we asked if you were president, who would be your VP? Now this one struck a lot of my students because of course they picked their best friends. And they're like, I picked this person because they're my best friend. And I heard from a couple people who said the same thing, and then I had to stop them and I'd just be like, okay, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying that's not a good choice, but you have to pick someone who you feel will help you, better you. Yes, a best friend can do that, but sometimes a best friend can cause problems for you. And it's not like the whole drama thing, but like think about who your VP would be a little bit longer than just 2 seconds. So when I told the kids that, it was harder for them to do it. And some of them did still pick their best friends, but they had very good reasons. They're like, my best friend would help me because she always makes me feel better, or she helps me stay organized, or she will help me be the best version of myself. And I was like, okay, good. But some people didn't have a reason why they wanted to pick their best friends. So it really had them think about like, who would you want to help run the country with you? And it really was like a real thinker for the kids. And they really enjoyed that question. Some of them couldn't think of something on the top of their head, so I had to like come back to them later and like ask them, hey, what was your answer here? Because I don't want them to not be able to discuss it in front of everybody, because you do get shy sometimes, but I do still want to know how you feel about the thing. So that was question 1. Another thing I would do is ask them 3 questions, like what would you do if you were president? What things would you change? And this again stumped a lot of students because they didn't know what they would do. Some students talked about like helping the homeless population, or helping with pollution or inflation. One of my students even used the word inflation and I was very surprised. But like it helps you think about how their mindsets are and like what they hear and what they would do and stuff like that. And it was really interesting. Like sitting down talking to the kids about this kind of stuff really hit me hard. Like they know a lot more than you would think, and it's really interesting from what I was hearing. So if you want a high order thinking questions like that, do that with the story, because it really shed a lot of light on how they are. And I really liked the questions that they were asking me and the conversation we were having with one another. But with that whole voting and stuff, I thought it would be a great idea to do a class president. And I told the kids what they had to do. I said we were going to vote. We're going to vote on Friday. This was on a Wednesday. And they need to make a poster, and they need to have a VP, and they need to have a president. So they need to decide who's who. They need to have a slogan. They have to tell me 3 things they're going to do for the classroom, and they needed to make the poster colorful, because telling them to be colorful sometimes it's like pulling teeth. But they did really, really well. And like the first day, they were really excited. They were really thinking about stuff. Obviously, they can't just go, we're going to have an ice cream party every day, or we're going to have free recess or extra recess, not free recess. And I had to remind them, like, when you are president, you don't get to just make the laws and just go with it. You have to have steps to create that. And then I had to remind them, hey, you have to make sure it's okay with me, and I have to make sure it's okay with the principals. Kind of how it would be in like the real presidency. Sorry, it's been a long day, so if I don't make sense, I'm so sorry. But they understood that. And so when they're making their posters, I was walking around the classroom and I was just like, wow, these are some really interesting things that they're wanting to bring. Like snack into the classroom. Some schools do snacks. We're 5th grade and we're older, so we don't really do that. But like they were like, okay, at 3 o'clock we will get a snack and this will help us be more engaged in our learning. I'm just like, okay. In my classroom, we do a ticket system where on Friday they get to do a class store. I'll make a video about that eventually. And they were saying that they want different candies for the bucket and that they would provide. And like these are some really cool ideas that the kids were doing. And they were working so hard. There was like maybe 2 groups that were being really, really silly. And I was like, hey, you guys gotta knock it down. But they were doing really, really well. And I was very, 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 very happy with how it was going. And like with their slogans, they were trying to make slogans that went with things. One student said, vote for me, get a TV. And I'm like, okay. And then another group of boys, they said, vote for me, get a Pepsi. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Just like kind of going along with the guy that said a TV. No, come Friday, the VP of this team brought a case of Pepsi to class. So they were going to give you a Pepsi if you voted for them, and I died laughing. I would have not thought that they would do something like that, and it killed me. And I was telling my teammates, and we were just busting out laughing, and it made me like, I don't know, made me so happy because I'm just like, oh, they kept their word, I guess, yeah. But it was just so funny. And then like I had a whole wall called the gallery wall, and you'll see it here and there. I don't know what I'm going to show you at this point, but you'll see some of the stuff that the kids did. And like these posters were very colorful, very bright. Some of them were, and they were just like doing really well. And like, I'm saying like a lot, I'm sorry, but like, these are 5th graders and they're doing so well, and they're working together and they're doing what they think is the best route for the classroom. Some people took it really seriously, some people didn't. They're kids, so obviously. But I was like in awe on how awesome these posters were. And I'm just, that's all I want to say on that. But to keep going with the story, on Friday we had them finish up, and I created little ballots for them. I thought this was so cute. So I made little ballots with their names, and the vice president is second, and then the president's first, and some of them are blank because they just were working by themselves, so I'm like, whatever. But I gave them this ballot, and I set up some binders to where it was like hidden so you couldn't really see anybody's votes. And I called them 2 by 2 because I had 2 different sets, and I had them vote. So they would check off, and then they would fold it and put it in a little basket in front of them. And it was just so interesting. And during this whole entire time, it was silent. Like, yes, they were talking here and there, but then when I got onto them, I'm like, hey, you cannot talk. And like, they got silent, and it was so funny. And when I was counting the ballots, I was just laughing to myself because obviously the people who brought Pepsi are going to get picked. Unfortunately, I knew that was probably going to happen because bribery, but some of those students had some really good ideas, but that's besides the point. When I said who won, a lot of them were upset because they're just like, they only voted because they had Pepsi. And I'm like, yeah, it happens. And some kids were like, well, what will happen if they vote for themselves? I can't tell you how to vote. Like, I can only say, do this, but I can't physically say, hey, vote for this person instead of this person. So it was this whole thing of them just like realizing like, oh, okay, and just kind of understanding how president stuff goes, and it and it was interesting for them. I'm not gonna put my cat down, so we're just gonna deal with him if he moves the table. But overall, I just really enjoyed it, and like I think the kids enjoyed it too. Yes, there was some sad stuff, but like I told them at the end of the day, I'm like, win or lose, I am so proud of all of you on how hard you worked on these and how beautiful like what you want to do to the classroom is. And it just like blew my mind. And like I told them that a lot of times, so the students that were really upset that they didn't win, they kind of felt a little bit better in the end, because you had to be there. You had to be there. If you see the videos, stop and if you can read what they wrote. Oh my gosh, I was in awe the whole entire time. It's just, to me, them so young thinking about those kind of things, and it just like so proud of them. But yeah, it's an activity that I think you should definitely do, not just on election year, but like any year. I think I'm going to do it every year. It depends on the students also. You know your kids, I don't. But but it's something amazing that the kids worked really hard on and they did really, really well. And it helps them understand elections and voting and everything like that. So hopefully you understood anything from that tangent. I was just so proud of my kids and I just wanted to tell the world. But yeah, if you do that, please do tell me next year or whatever. You can do it now, you can do it later. I don't know. It's up to you. But if you do it, tell me, comment down below if you guys did anything for election year. Maybe give me some ideas for next year, and vice versa. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up. It helps the channel tremendously. And if you like teacher stuff and like lifestyle stuff and whatever, please consider subscribing because I'm gonna get better at doing this kind of stuff. So yeah, and if you think you want to see any more about the election stuff, I did post little shorts about my kids. So if you want to look at that, you can. All right, with that, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.